Hey y'all, it's Trent Knox with the Trent Knox Show. I have recorded 3 videos since I got back from all of the events that I've been dealing with, from pre-South by events to post-South by events, from family coming into town, and as you can tell, I'm kind of dealing with a cold. I had a great time with people I care about during South by Southwest, and my acquaintances that I have seen at the festival circuit, and that was the highlight of South by Southwest. Hanging out with Daniel Liner and his crew of clients and whatnot, Afro Pig and Kobe, and it was cool. Figuring out kind of like where I fit into this whole esports gaming world, because of course during South by Southwest I was a paying attendee for the South by Southwest Gaming 2019. However, I did not pay for any of the other conventions because I just didn't see the ROI for me on those events, and therefore that being said, the ROI for me for South by Southwest Gaming in particular wasn't that great. I actually spent a lot more money than I had expected to spend during that event, and I've recorded this podcast like 6 or 7 times now. It feels like, trying to explain myself as to why I just didn't get a lot of value out of South by Southwest Gaming 2019. And while I saw a lot of familiar faces, I felt like there were a lot of familiar faces that didn't seem interested in having a conversation with me, and it seemed like they were kind of uncomfortable being there, and it seemed like people were just not having a great time, and whatever the reason that may be, it was the case. South by Southwest Gaming on Friday was a little bit hectic. I showed up early, found out that it was going to cost $20 to park in the convention parking garage off of 5th Street, and I paid the $20. I parked in the garage. I got there around like 9 o'clock-ish, waited 45 minutes till they opened the doors at 10 a.m., got my band, began walking around the convention, kind of looking for something to do, and really, there wasn't anything to do because the actual convention didn't start till 11 a.m., and I happened to run into Daniel, started conversating with him about things that were happening, and I asked him if he would do a podcast with me because I had rented about $81 worth of mobile podcast equipment, and I actually didn't get a chance to do that podcast with him, but I did have a conversation with him pre South by Southwest Gaming 2019, before all the stuff had started off, before 11 a.m. in the morning. We kind of had a conversation about what would be the overall conversation that was going to be had during South by Southwest Gaming, and from both of our observations and what we could put together, we couldn't really get an overall main subject matter, because of course in 2018 during South by Southwest, Ninja had just done a duo stream, or whatever you want to call it, with Drake, and had broke a record that had never been broke before, and then continued to break records throughout the year of 2018. And it was like the talk of the town for quite some time. And then, the conversation seemed to be kind of, during South by Southwest Gaming 2019, kind of biased, based on those who were looking to basically get all that they can out of MOBAs, like League of Legends and Dota 2, because those two tournament brackets, those two prize pools, have been the largest for esports athletes. And then there was some talk about battle royales, but there was a huge divide between the new shining star Apex and those who had spent their time over the course of 2 years with the battle royale of Fortnite, and there was little to no conversation in regards to Blackout coming from Call of Duty. Over the course of the week, I saw a lot of younger kids aspiring to be esports athletes or something like that, and in the 10 to 16 age demographic, age range, and they all seem to be interested in somewhat of a battle royale. I came across with Daniel, one kid who was intrigued by CS:GO and first person shooters, and in the search and destroy style of first person shooters versus the battle royales and whatnot. And so there wasn't much conversation about anything outside of those main subject matters. There was little to no conversation about blockchain based gaming. It just seemed like really disconnected. Looking from a production standpoint, between 2018 and 2019 South by Southwest Gaming, 2018 had a lot more budget, it appeared, than 2019, because the overall aesthetics of the convention it was far less, it was less impressive than 2018. And for those of you who attended South by Southwest Gaming 2019 for the first time, you're probably pretty much impressed by what they were able to be put together. But ultimately, it did not exceed the value of the year before. And for a lot of people who have been going to South by Southwest Gaming since the start, have very negative feelings towards the event, because each year it seems to have not been has yet to innovate since the origin as much as the people would like. And then in the addition, now that the South by Southwest Gaming is a ticketed event, it kind of puts a sour taste in those who went to the event in previous years when the event was free of charge with or without a wristband. And so when people get kind of depressed or upset based on that kind of thing, it kind of ruins the event in certain ways. Other than that, I mean, the expo was what it was. On a previous episode of the Trent Knox show in Austin Live and Local, live from the ATX, I did a dual show interviewing Hector Gonzalez of Battle Express. He was one of the exhibitors on the expo floor that was putting together a online tournament hosting platform called Battle Express out of San Antonio. And I spoke with him, and you guys can go check out that episode and see what you can get from it. I wasn't exactly happy with the quality of the episode when it came out, but it is what it is now. Other than South by Southwest Gaming, I have been mostly working, and I've been trying to put together these tutorial videos or some sort of podcast, audio, whatever, to kind of talk about my experience with Instacart and Postmates, as those have been my two primary means of employment at this time. Talk about the trials and tribulations of that and how to get the most out of it. And I've been seeing a lot of content creators in that realm creating content, but really haven't spoken about the things that I've been experiencing, and what some of the negatives are, and mostly how you can turn those negatives into positives, and be successful in what you do. Some of the struggles that come with doing these last mile delivery services or convenience delivery systems applications is that you are your own business, and you're an independent contractor that enlists these applications to find businesses that are looking for delivery services with or without their knowledge. And sometimes that can be a bit of a struggle. Not so much with Instacart, obviously, because a lot of what Instacart is partnered with most of the vendors that they work with. But companies like Postmates or DoorDash or Grubhub, or there are a variety of different applications out there that deliver from anywhere, and sometimes that you can run into issues with the restaurants, and some of the restaurants may or may not desire your services. They are not as happy about the food loss or the preparations that the delivery services provide, and some of that's due to their negligence, and the reason that they aren't because they're not prepared to handle large to-go orders or a large order of to-go orders, and they end up suffering from that. And the more that we move forward in the future, more restaurants and businesses that offer services such as Postmates, DoorDash, or whatever for restaurants will need to partner with those vendors, and then have somebody who is trained and certified in the applications in order to be able to manage the interface between the application and the restaurant, for whatever means that may be, whether they're using whatever POS system they're using within their restaurant. And a lot of restaurants are still using annotated, sorry if I'm saying that word wrong, but old technology with their credit card services processors or their POS systems, that causes it to become real difficult for people to get in and out fast with to-go deliveries. Pick up, prepaid, whatever you want to call it. And these are some of the concepts that I want to go over in these tutorial videos for last mile delivery services or convenience delivery services. And so, like I said, I've been doing Postmates and Instacart. I originally was doing Postmates because I originally was doing Instacart, but Instacart seemed to be something I wasn't comfortable with, and there was some pushback between the in-store shoppers, and there was some issues between not knowing how the system really worked. And so I started doing Postmates, and then I got into Favor, and when I was doing Favor, I realized some of the negative things that can occur while doing these delivery things, because you're interfacing with people all the time. And when you're interfacing with people and they don't necessarily know how to communicate well, or they're not happy with you providing these services that to them are unwarranted. However, the consumer is desiring these services, yet the distributor isn't. So you kind of run into these issues where sometimes you get a delivery from a pizza place or somewhere that seems like a fast casual place, and they're upset with the way that they're upset with the way that not you as a person, as a delivery driver, but they're upset with the company and the way that they're handling delivery services without them asking for it and it being unwarranted. So through Favor, I kind of learned that that Favor just was not treating the restaurants with enough respect, and they weren't treating their drivers with enough respect, and they also were being there's a lot that goes into some of the darker the kind of disassociated things that were occurring with these delivery services, such as Favor, Postmates. There's another side of the coin that's kind of an issue outside of these delivery services that kind of gives a negative perspective towards what the restaurants feel like is a good image of their brand. So as a result, I actually was kicked off of the Favor platform for some unknown reason. However, I think that it was a large purge of delivery drivers, because at the same time, my friend who had got me on Favor, he got purged from the platform as well, and he was let go, and they gave him the excuse that he had delivered cigarettes to a minor. And you'd think that there'd be some sort of age verification system, as there is for everything else on the platform, that he wouldn't be delivering he wouldn't do that. He just wouldn't do that. He's not the type of guy to do that. And they didn't have any reason to kick me off the platform, so they gave me like some sort of, like, customers felt like I was harassing them. So from that, I learned that you can't talk to customers. You can't be friendly. You can't be not friendly. You can only be, you can only kind of just, behave in a way in which you don't create any sort of human connection. No kind of connection between between the driver, myself, and the customer, the person you're dropping off the food for, because they ultimately can make up any story in the world. They could say that you're doing great. They could just give you a 1 star for no reason, trolling. And I've had this come to fruition in multiple different ways. I've had women come to the door in basically a bathrobe with her breasts hanging out or whatever. I've had that happen. I've had women come to the door in nothing but a ripped t-shirt, and having that be the case. I've had multiple run-ins where, as a heterosexual male, you have to question what's really going on here. So I've came up with a tactic, and if you're in any type of sales, if you're in any type of human communication interface with someone who ultimately decides negative or positive, is you've got two things that can go in your favor, and that is always keeping some sort of body camera on you, or always having some sort of recording equipment on you, whether that's audio or something like that, recording all the conversations at all times. But I don't do that. I think that's going out, that's going to the point at which, is this job even, is the job security of this job even worth it at that point? So I don't do that, just to protect myself from any made up crazy something that could happen. It's just to protect you from people who are liars and whatnot. People just like to lie just because they don't feel like that you're real to them. There's such a disconnect between you and the person that they can just say whatever they want, and it's easier because back in the day when you had like a local delivery service, they would just, they might call up the Papa John's that you work for, or the Chinese food restaurant that you delivered for, or whatever delivery place, and put in a bad word for you, just to troll or prank you or whatever. But now it's so disconnected. All the person has to do is give you a 1 star rating and type in a negative review, and then the more negative reviews you receive over the course of a time, it could indicate, and if the company you work for is being negligent in the way that they are processing and interpreting this information, then they could take it in a way that it's not authentic and not accurate, and paint you in a negative light. And so you ultimately have to have some sort of legal defense in order to, protect your image and your reputation from these people who are just trolling and pranking. So, if you're not wearing, a body camera, some sort of like, wire to record them, or if you're not like, and this is even in the most legal of circumstances, you're delivering food, you're not delivering narcotics or anything like that. You're delivering food from a restaurant, and everything seems to be hunky-dory, but people are just going to troll and be pranksters and think they're funny by, ruining your life by making it so that you can't earn an income, and that, who knows your situation. I know my situation. I got off of 7 years since I got arrested for assault, and that has kind of leaned up off of my federal and my state background check. So like I'm able to get jobs now. But for people like my friend, who I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he did just get off of his charges. But his girlfriend claimed that he had some domestic abuse, and it was a false claim, and he got off of the charges because the situation didn't happen the way that she had indicated it had. And he's a very docile, non-aggressive person, and it doesn't seem. I would never say he would do something aggressive towards anybody. He's just a real nice guy, and she lied on his name, threw shade at him, and that happened. And so he was in a situation where he had been hired by Favor, and then Favor gave him this bullshit about how he gave the cigarettes, and then he was out of the job. And I told him to sign up for Postmates. It actually saved his life because the charges had not been filed and they were pending. And he happened to sign up before the charge for Postmates because the situation with his girlfriend happened after. So then, good for him. And then, so his charges got lifted. But God forbid someone, trolled and he lost that job of Postmates. He had been out of work and he wouldn't have been able to get another job because the legal system is so broken. And we get put in positions, you're a college educated person with a bachelor's in computer science or something like that, but you went down for narcotics, or you went down for assault, or you went for laundering or some sort of criminal activity, and a small thing like a misdemeanor can destroy your public persona, your reputation. And it makes it very difficult for people to get jobs because every single job employer these days runs a background check, whether it's your credit check or your whatever. They run a credit check on you. They run whatever they do with the information that you give whenever you approve them to get your social security number, and run tests on your social net worth or whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot that goes into it. So let me get down to I had to give some background as to why I got to these tactics, but these are some tactics that you can use if you're in a situation where there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk in you communicating, whether, like I said, and you're in a sales position, you deal with a lot of clients, you're a delivery driver, you're a Lyft driver, whatever it is. This is what I do. And some people may perceive this as like, you can literally only do this if you're not required to talk to the person more than at max 10 minutes. Say hello. Say their name. Say something like, everything was okay. Then say, have a great day. Cut the interactions closed. If they say something like thank you, say my pleasure. If they don't say thank you or anything like that, and they say it, you say thank you first. Be authoritative. Make sure that they're aware that you are grateful. There's a lot of gratitude in the opportunity to deliver to them. Make sure that their spirits are elevated. If they look as though they are looking or targeting someone to be negative toward them, provide them with as much positivity as you can. Comment. Do not comment on their physical, but comment maybe on their garden. Comment on something outside of that. Oh, it's such a great day. Look at the great weather. Use adjectives that are extremely positive, like wonderful, amazing, great. Use linguistic tactics in order to avoid any sort of negativity and leave them with a great positive image of you verbally, because they say this is true, that to believe 75% of what you hear and forget the rest of the 25%, but visually believe 50% of what you see, and don't believe 50% of the rest you see. So people will analyze you physically and make up their preconceived notions. The visual aspect, first impression. The visual first impression is not as important as the optical first impression is less important than the auditorial, because you have to be specific with your words, whereas with your with the optical analysis, people may perceive something vastly different. Optics are going to be a little bit easier for people to kind of associate things, but when it comes to the auditorial things, your sense of sound, people from different regions of the country, whether they just moved to the area or they just moved from the area, they're from another country. It's a little bit easier to communicate with people from another country. But if they're from the United States of America, they may be from the East Coast or the West Coast, north or the South. They may misunderstand or misinterpret the words that you're using, and you have to be extremely careful with how you are communicating with people. So body language is important, but it's not as important as what they hear, because they don't want to hear anything that may disturb their mentality of the day. So you want to be uplifting with every word you bring to the table. Never give any negativity. If there was a negative circumstance if there's something that you can't do to make their happiness, don't even bring it up. Don't even if they comment a positive thing towards you, assume that it's a neutral statement. Don't allow them to don't provide them any sort of feedback other than if they say something positive to you, have a great day, nice to see you, have a great day. or not even nice to see you, because that can be that can be conceived as something negative, because you haven't built a rapport. Nice to see you is bad. There's a lot of reasons, but have a great day. My pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate it. If I'm grateful for any tips, if they give you a cash tip, or it varies within the industry, but basically just do your job and get out. You little to no communication. Make it, be like a ninja. Be like a samurai. Be like a green beret. Be like in and out. Boom, boom, boom. Get CIA agent. Be the FBI. Whatever it is. Be sleek. Be in and out. Don't allow them to even notice you were there. Just like it was magic. Like it magically appeared in their world. And this may be a complete conflict to the person that you are, because you want to be a people person. You want to be someone that is well liked. You want to be the person that is and you constantly strive for this, but a lot of people don't care. They have no reason to give you any portion of their attention. So especially if you're just there to serve them for their need of having a delivery, or being sold a cell phone, or buying food from a restaurant, if you're a server or waitress or bartender, you want to limit as much as you can your interaction with that person, if you're not the owner of that business. Now let's come back into the flip side of this conversation. If you are squeaky clean, you've got all of your ducks in a row, you have your own business and you're doing deliveries, you're at the upper echelon of delivery services, you're enlisting yourself in all activities, you're an advertiser, you're a salesman, you're a Lyft driver, you're also doing Postmates, you're Uber Eatsing, you're Ubering, you're doing everything. You have your own delivery vehicles, you have a fleet of people working for you. All of this is something sort of consolidated. You can kind of play with your interaction with people, because you have more leverage over the people that are fighting for their lives to pay their bills off of this small independent contractor work that we got here. And I think about this a lot, and that's probably why this podcast is kind of growing with this sort of content, is that, if you're in the service industry, if you're sales, if you're in delivery business, if you have any sort of direct communication with a client or a consumer, a buyer, whatever it may be, you kind of have to rework your brain outside of the way that you would communicate with like your friends. Like you're not going to use profanity. You're not gonna you're gonna do your best to not break the communication that you have with ums or ands or us or whatever you can. Like I just did there, where you're pausing and you're not always on. You're not in your A game at all times. There's no relaxation in the way that you're communicating. And if there's a time for a break, you got to keep talking, because you have to over analyze the way that the consumer is thinking and give them the best opportunity. And you kind of have to hear about their trials and tribulations in order to repurpose that in a way that you can fix their situation, sort of like if you were a police officer, or if you were a medic, or were some sort of interaction with a human being in a critical state. And wow, it seems like all of this would be outside of the requirement of someone who's just doing deliveries. It used to be the hospitality aspect of deliveries wasn't as important. When you were a pizza delivery guy, you were a Chinese food guy, you were the postman, you were the FedEx guy, whatever. But now, since there seems to be more personalization with the way that people are doing their delivery application services, where you can request the driver, you can request this, request that, speak with the driver, you can text message, watch, monitor. The consumer can monitor every aspect of the sales interaction, and if you are the weak link between the partner, the business partner, the middleman between you and between the application, the business, the application, the independent contractor, and the consumer, let alone maybe there's someone in between the consumer and which may be the apartment complex, and then the consumer. There's just all these stages that are there's all these people coming together to try and do one piece of business, and everybody's getting their cut on the consumer and the business. In between, the application, the independent contractor, the place of business, the apartment, the house, the landlord, the owner, the consumer, and all these people are in the middle there, and you have to communicate with all these people as the independent contractor. You have to communicate with the application, the business, the middleman between you and the consumer and the consumer. It's like you have to be well aware of this, whereas the consumer doesn't have to communicate as much with them. They're enlisting your services so that you communicate with these other three people to get to them. And sometimes you might run into some sort of issue in the service industry with your manager, the restaurant business, or whatever it may be. And unfortunately, that's just the reality we live in. But these services are supposed to be alleviating those trials and tribulations. But I don't know, and it becomes more and more of a risk, and so you have to kind of elevate your business as time moves on and whatnot. Because if you look at like what's going on with the Lime scooters that are downtown, or the Jump or whatever, the scooter business, it's now becoming a source of income. Clearly, merchandising has been a source of income. Food and beverage, alcohol, which is a whole nother thing that I want to get into with the picking up alcohol for these businesses and the trials and tribulations that go into that. And there's the entertainment business, and being a musician, being a podcaster, being a comedian, being an actor, being in any sort of work there, computer science, doing an app developer, whatever your interests may be. It kind of just, you just gotta get something together that kind of makes things happen. And I don't know. That's kind of what I wanted to recap my South by Southwest, give you an update of what's been going on in my life, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. Take it easy. Have a great day. I meant to say. Peace.